First of all, hello, Farnaz. We are very happy to have you here in Miss Golden Magazine. We're going to start with a basic question. How are you? How has been those days here in Madrid?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Madrid is wonderful. This is my 4th visit to Madrid. I love it here. It's different from Sevilla. I love Sevilla, but Madrid is very special.
Yeah, we're glad that you are spending really good time here. And also we have to say that in March 2023, you released your most recent single, which is Yar. How did this single came out from your mind?
The single was in direct reaction to what is happening in Iran. It started really in September with the death of a particular person. Her name was Mahsa Amini. People of Iran have been uprising and fighting for 43 years. But in September, somehow, because of the death of this girl, people just went into the street and they just seem to have had enough. And it's been one of the most severe uprisings that we've seen in all these 43 years. I have been working on my album, and I spoke to my collaborator, Gaspar Rodriguez of Malaga. He lives in Malaga. And I said, listen, Gaspar, I have to stop a little bit for the album, and I have to make a song. And I was looking around for a song. I thought maybe I'll do something brand new. But then this song, Yar, is actually originally a march. And it's a lot faster and is from a long time ago. It's at least, I think, 50 years old, 60 years old. And it's more like, Yar, so then, it's like a march. So then I wanted to create a song that was in reaction to all the deaths that were happening. And especially, it was really heartbreaking for me to observe that a lot of the deaths were really young people. There are deaths among people who've been killed by the governments, not just accidentally, on purpose, were as young as 2-year-old, a lot of teenagers. And the story of the song is about friendship, or a friendship, very deep friendship, where despite all the difficulties and things that you're experiencing, you still remain connected and still remain friends. And the idea is that you go home to school the next day and the seat next to you is empty because your friend, who is a teenager just like you, has been arrested or killed during the demonstrations and manifestations. So that's the whole song. And if you look at the music video, you will see that the idea is that everything is lost, there is no hope, there is a lot of destruction. But then these two friends, these yars means friends, they come together and they still, within the difficulties that they're experiencing, they still rely on each other to create hope. And the final lyrics of the song says that if it's not us making a change and changing our lives, who's gonna do it? So it's up to us to make a difference. So it was in direct reaction to what was happening in Iran.
Yeah. Well, this is a very touching story as I was hearing it. And well, is this something that you try to do with all the songs that you release, like to tell real stories in order to use your voice as trying to send a message, a social message? Is something that you do with all the songs that you release?
Every song I do has a message that is very dear to my heart. I grew up in Iran until I was 17. So for me, that's a big, big part of my culture. And I grew up after the revolution. So I grew up with all the restrictions and all the no's and all the, you're not allowed because you're a woman, you can't do this, you can't sing, you can't perform, you have to cover yourself, don't laugh too loud, don't go here, don't do this, don't do that, everything is your fault. If someone bothers you, it's your fault. What were you wearing? What were you doing? All these things. So everything I experienced through the 17 years of my life, it's been that. Moved to Canada, I had to deal with cultural shock, I had to deal with language, I had to deal with leaving behind all my dear friends and family who were still dealing with these things. So the struggle changed in a different way. Is it okay? Okay. So the struggle continued, but in a different way. I think from the very beginning, the first album, which came out in 2017, I started in 2010 to work on it. It was always just my story. It was never meant to be for everyone. It was not going to be a pop music. It was just purely my personal stories. And the first album starts from when I was a child, a girl growing up in Iran, all the way to immigration, discovering religion as something personal, not political, to the very last song, which is an alegrías, which is finding grounding in art and in music. So it was purely personal. It was my stories, it was my songs. And then all of a sudden I realized that people can relate to it. People can actually listen to it and find themselves in it. So it felt right to always tell my own story, especially because what I do, it's so different, then I have to make it my own. Otherwise, it makes no sense. It's very much a personal piece of art. So yes.
Yeah, exactly. It makes sense that you talk about your own story, and also with things that you have struggled since you were 17, and then you moved to Canada to Canada.
Yes.
But also with this message that you like try to share with the people, you have received like many awards in recognition for JAR and for the music that you did like all during your whole life.
Yes.
And also, for example, I have here that you were nominated to Canadian Folk Music Awards and many other awards. So how is it to receive that much support and recognition for a song that talks about your culture or your life? How do you feel?
It's been incredible. You would think by now I'll be used to people caring, but I'm still shocked. I'm still surprised that people care. And you know, I recognize that we live far away. We are from another culture, from another religion. We have a different way of life, and maybe it's not always for people to relate. But then when they do, it's still surprising to me, because I guess at the end of the day, the stories are human stories. They're not necessarily specifically about Iran. Yar has been doing really, really well, obviously because, you know, with Fran mentioned, who was the director and producer on the video, he had a very clear vision, really professional and gorgeous work that he did with the cinematography and the idea and the location that he chose outside of Barcelona. We were in a working salt factory, so there's no CGI, everything is very real. At the same time, the story is universal. Like we specifically avoided putting any flags of Iran or making anyone look Iranian, because it is everyone's story. It's about struggle, human struggle. So for it to do really well, I'm surprised, but I'm not, because the music video is gorgeous. It's beautiful. The music, obviously, I love the music. The story, can people relate to it? At the same time, I'm still very touched that people can relate and they like it the way they have. It's won many awards, and it's not even finishing the cycle yet. We've won 12 Best of Show, Best Music Video, Best Director, Best Original Song, Best Cinematography. Everything is just constantly winning. And right now, I believe we're in 22 film festivals all around the world. So all the way from Tamil India to Congo, a lot of places in the US, in UK, in France, in Sweden. It's just been incredible. Like, it's definitely going everywhere. And our story is being told. So it's really, really wonderful and heartwarming to feel that I'm making a difference in that way.
Yeah.
The song is making an impression.
I mean, you might be so proud as you were saying, and also that you had the opportunity to travel all around the world to spread that message.
Yes.
But also, I think you're gonna do the same not only with Jar, also with your next album that it's called "I'm Your."
The name is changed now. It's just breath.
Changed?
It's just breath.
It's just breath. Okay.
Breath,
So
yeah.
with your it's more concrete.
It's even easier. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. So what can we expect from this album?
The album, it is more of the same of Persian flamenco, but it's evolved. It's been now 13 years that I've started on this journey. Where I first started was 2010. Oh. Now we are 2023, so a long time. There's going to be 9 brand new songs, and for the first time, most of the musicians are Spanish people, although I still have my beloved Persian music and instrumentation in there. The producer is a Spanish, Alberto, who's also the president of Air Music, who is my agency, is producing and bringing flavors of electronic music a little bit into the album. Also, the songs are more brave. Okay. For the first time, I'm introducing seguirías and martinete, which I didn't have the courage to do. Funny enough, the very first song ever that I did in Persian flamenco was seguirías. Tells you how much I didn't know that this is such a bad idea. But now, after 13 years, I think I'm finally ready. What I particularly like about the album is because in the martinete, the style that we're going to do the martinete is in the style of call to prayer, which in the Muslim world is purely done by men. So it's completely forbidden for women to sing in public, especially to go up on top of they call it a mosque or like a church, to call people to come and pray. So it's very, very no.
Okay.
But the way we're going to produce the song is basically in that style. So it's very controversial. It's going to be immediately understood by Iranians that what this is meant to be. And the album is about love. It's the first time that I'm talking about love only. But it is still about protest, because even the act of love is an act of protest in a place like Iran. You cannot, queer love is not accepted. You cannot love and kiss freely in the streets. You can't have, like, it's forbidden to really kind of have a love for your family, for your country. They always say love of Islam is first. Like, love is generally, it's an act of rebellion. So the whole album is about love, but it's also through protest. Like, all these things to arrive at a place of having the courage to love freely.
Yeah.
So it's martinete is a call to come and pray at my temple of love. So that's what the album is about.
Yeah, I mean, the concept it's like so good, and like I really like it.
Thank you.
And also, I don't know if this is something that motivates you, like, in order to protest, because I mean, you've lived a lot of time in
yes.
Iran there.
Yes.
And is it something that motivates you in order to like say what are the circumstances there? Like,
it's a very good question. It's a very good question. I could leave it. You know, I've lived abroad now for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
I could leave it, but I can't. And I think, as you were asking me the question, I think I have two reasons for this. Is because one, the first half of my life I was there, so it was very formative. I think those were core memories and how I was told I should be in the world as a woman. And to stop that pattern, to say, no, I don't accept this way of living. I want to be a different kind of woman and different kind of human. That's a very fundamental change. And I think that's one thing that's really important to me. The second thing is, I think people who listen to my music, especially Iranian women, tend to really relate to it. So when I perform, I can immediately tell who is Iranian because they start crying. And I can connect with them without having to explain anything. And then I feel like, how can I pull away from that? When I know people who are young and my age in Iran, still women will never have the opportunities that I now have. They can never record an album. They can never really have a concert outside. They can never have a proper concert of their music. They cannot sing with a man properly. None of this is available to them. And here I am, a single woman from Iran, on stage, doing something that is absolutely breaking all the rules. So I feel responsible. How can I stop when I have this incredible privilege and this incredible opportunity to do this on their behalf and tell their stories and tell them that maybe you can, maybe one day you can, maybe there's hope now, maybe the regime will change, maybe look, I'm doing it, I'm not young, I'm not 20 years old, I'm doing it, and you can too. When freedom comes, you can too. So there's hope, there's possibilities. So that's the main reason that I keep doing what I do.
And also that now you just started, now it's difficult to stop, as you were saying.
Yes.
But I don't think if this maybe for you is like a pressure or something.
No. I actually have a degree in interior design architecture.
Okay.
So I'm an artist, but my art comes out in a lot of different ways. When I started on my first album, it was just purely an artistic exploration. It was never meant to be something public. It was just for me. I had some music I wanted to get out of my system.
Okay.
And I went to, I spent 6 years developing it, thinking about it, working on it. It was never meant to be. It was just a project.
Yeah.
So I don't feel any pressure, especially because what I do is so unique. I don't have anyone behind me pushing me to do it, and there's no one ahead of me chasing. No one does what I do. So it feels very peaceful, a little bit scary because no one has done it. I don't have a formula to follow. All the formula comes from me, so it's either right or wrong. But at the same time, it's very freeing. No, I don't feel any pressure. I can stop whenever, but I don't feel I have said all the things I need to say. I haven't told all the stories I need to be told.
Yeah.
So, I think I still need to get going. I need to still have things to say, but talk to me in 5-10 years. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope you continue.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, you were saying that, and also we're coming to the end of the interview, but obviously I have to mention the part of flamenco that we were saying before, that this is very typical here from Spain. But what moment of your life did flamenco appear to you? I mean, when you were so little?
Yeah, I was very little. Yeah. I was 3 or 4 years old. My dad had tapes. I don't even know if your audience knows what tapes are, but he had tapes, and he would play flamenco from Lola Flores and from El Chocolate, and he's like, listen, look how they're going, and it's because they're protesting and they were prosecuted, and I was like, oh, not again, papa, por favor, like, please, no. And then we came to Spain for a trip. We came to the south of Spain only, in Sevilla, in Granada. We went to Cadiz, we went to all those places, and suddenly I was like, whoa, it's real, all those tapes, it's real. I looked at Alhambra and all the writing in the wall, and we went and saw people dancing in the street, and we went to see ballet flamenco, and then I saw like the flower flew, and I was like, and I was like, my mind was blown, and I was only 13, 14, so I went back. We had to go back to Iran, and I had zero access except those tapes, and I just poured my heart into it, listened to it all the time, started having conversations with my dad. Why is it important to him? What does it mean to him? Why he feels there's connections to Iranian history and resistance, and we talked a lot about the migration of all the Gitanos who landed. So it was a big part of my life. He also liked a lot of different kinds of music, so it wasn't just flamenco. But when I arrived in Canada, for the first time, I was like, I could actually do flamenco. For the first time, it was possible. But I was a dancer. I danced for almost 20 years, actually. Wow. Never thinking I could sing. But then I started exploring singing, and then eventually Persian, what I do with the fusion. So the rest is history. But I owe it all to my dad, and the connections that we share from the deep, deep roots of Iranians and the migration of all the Romanis that came through and landed in South. So, yeah.
Well, and then it came the mix, and then
yes, it came the mix, and the rest is history. Yes.
We have this album. Yeah. So, well, last question would be like, what can we expect from you the following month? I mean, are you going to continue doing shows, or what?
I'm very hopeful for the next couple of months. I have been blessed because I've been embraced by a lot of Spaniard flamenco artists. I hope to have a lot of collaborations. I've already had a few. We have planning a few more. So that's the first thing I'm really looking forward to. I think we're working on a whole lot of videos for that. Already being embraced by people like Esperanza Fernandez, one of my idols, who's been really kind to me. So there's that. The album will come out in the fall, and we'll see how people like it. I hope people enjoy it. And then we will probably have shows. And my hope is to make not only Iranians proud, obviously, but also show the depth and beauty of flamenco and how open it is to new ideas. As long as we're respectful to the roots, we understand that I am not replacing anything. I'm just adding to the idea and the conversation. And the fact that people in Spain seem to really like it, and that tells a lot about a culture that is so deep and old in a way of arts that is so personal to people, and they're still willing to listen to something new. So I like to make Spanish people proud. I like to be, to go out there and say, hey, I'm from Iran. I grew up in Canada, but I was nurtured in Spain. And so I'm able to produce this music. So that's the hope. And all of that will happen hopefully in the fall and the next year, 2020.